Thank you for listening to All Things Tech.
And welcome back to All Things Tech. This is Conscious Chat. Tonight's program will be going over Stargates, portals, Hollow Earth, advanced ET races, free energy, God, the devil, and who knows what else. You can hear more of our Conscious Chat shows by visiting us at www.consciouschat.com. Stream any of our shows for free on the site. Shows are available on YouTube and SoundCloud as well by searching for Conscious Chat. Joining us today will be Pseudo, who's in the UK, 8 hours ahead of us here in Seattle. And Hex will be joining as well in Australia. I think he is 17 hours ahead of us over there in Sydney. So if you guys are there, we can go ahead and get started.
Yo guys, I'm just going to leave you for a while. I'll leave you guys to get acquainted with each other. Illuminati and Cody maybe, if you haven't met already. But I'll still be listening in the background, and you're all admins, so you know what to do if someone comes in the channel, you know the score. So yeah, I'll talk soon.
Yeah, before you go, Pseudo, consciouschat.com is active now, so that's going to replace Truthbook, that old domain name. But they both still work, so even the old videos, people can still get there. But yeah, how's it going, everybody?
Yeah, that's great. You got the domain. I saw that screenshot. Excellent. Good stuff.
Now, if I didn't know any better, Professor Hydra is just an average man. You know, I understand that he goes out reading and seeking books just like us. The question I questioned him was how much did he believe of what he said was true? And then his answer was, oh, well, I've learned so much throughout his time. He gave me his age before he said this. And I was like, not everything you're stating is true because you're putting everything on scientific evidence. He's like, and he said, well, science has proved much more in centuries than anything else. I was like, well, science lied. And then he asked me about what? I said about NASA. He was like, NASA never lied. I was like, NASA lied about the pictures they were taking, about the moon landing, about the way we view this world. They lied. Everything was a cover-up. An astronaut even said, the one that been to the moon, said that they didn't go to the moon. It was all staged. A few other astronauts came out and said the same story. But you know, I wasn't targeting Professor Hydro. For me, he feels like he's not wanting to believe anything that I'm trying to say, but I'm pretty much staying in his bubble where it's comfortable for him to understand what.
I know Hydrogen, and I've had conversations with him, and there's kind of like a mutual respect between the two of us, because he spoke of the things he's subscribing to, and he's acknowledged the things that I've been presenting to him, and he acknowledges that there is so much that can't be explained.
Yeah, that's him. Oh, he's a good bloke. Like, I don't mind on some stuff that he talks about. But it seems like when testing his knowledge, like I seem to test his knowledge about a lot of things, and instead of coming up with an answer, he comes up with a quote, you know, or a life quote, just to soothe out the ripples on the water. And you know, it's easy to understand where he's coming from, which is good. I understand, you know, sometimes some subjects are not meant to be spoken about, but, you know, when asking a question, it just seems like it's being blocked by his answers with quotes, which is, like I said, it's nothing against him, just seems like he can't answer the questions that being asked.
Can't really bring too much up in there because someone will quickly change the subject or point out that for some reason it's controversial. Spooky knows the score. He knows that there's a lot of discrepancies in our environment, but like many people, is grown up with science and it's kind of like an easy explanation for people. But I know it does, like, kind of almost grapple with the ideas, you know, and it does recognise that people are poking holes in science, but it doesn't like to try and present a new paradigm to anyone. He likes to talk a lot about America and the differences between America and the UK, but, you know, if you start presenting people with information that is literally world changing in a way, one way or another, then out will come the trolls and out will come the ad hominem attacks. People like us, we have to create our own room. And I mean, even over there in secret government, in a sense, that's kind of filtered because they like to, for the most part, talk about the negative aspects of existence, you know what I mean? And try engaging those people in positive subjects, and you'll find that you're having some difficulty.
Oh yeah, that's very true. Oh, yeah, like I was saying, you know, because I questioned one of my questions, were right to Professor Hydro, was Scientology, and he said Scientology is a cult, which I understand. Yes, it is a cult. I was like, do you know that Scientology's scientists come from and are with Scientology? Do you understand that? And he's like, yeah, but it's not like that. I was like, it is. It falls under the same category. I was like, so, you know, getting a status from online, like how do you know if that's accurate at all? So because some most of the time, 80% of the time, I don't even think it's accurate at all. And with little things, yes, but with other things, no, I don't think it's accurate. Because you do a test, one person does a test, doesn't mean millions of people done the test and come out with the same result. But when I questioned that, I had to. A moderator told me in NST to drop the subject, so I was like, all right, no worries, I will.
But yeah, interesting talk. I caught a glimpse of that. Yeah, the secret government channel is super negative if you've been on there. If you don't follow along with their belief systems, they don't think too far out the box, you know. He just wants to talk about these certain royal families or whatever.
Can I ask you something, right? With that secret government and that guy that runs that channel, he has a V in front of his as a name tag or something like that. Has he told you anything about his business?
Anything about his what? I know him. I've talked to him a lot.
No, just he was saying something about SG1. I don't know if he mentioned this to you.
I don't think so.
Alright, SG1 is Stargate from, you know, the series Stargate on TV, a TV program. He was right about a few things that was on there. So the Stargate portal, which is it's true. That whole thing is true, but the episodes are all fake. Just that gate portal is real. But I don't know too much about it. I just know that it's in history, everywhere in history. Stretches from the Egyptian times till now. It's been covered up for so long, I don't know where the story starts or where it ends. Because so many stories out there. It's just been diverted and then, you know, rearranged, changed, and different wordings, and now it's lost. So I don't know where the actual facts is for that one. Yeah, that's true. Because if on the if you look online and if you can find a lot of hieroglyphic pyramid drawings on their walls, you'll see they have a Stargate circle gate there. And not only that, did they have it, the Incas had it, the same thing on their in a hieroglyphic wall. After the Incas, the Vikings surprisingly had it. In the Polynesian Islands, when I went in 2008, I seen the same hieroglyphic on the wall in my grandfather's beach. Didn't understand what it meant. I own that beach, and if I go back there, I'll take a photo of it and I'll try and post it up.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I had a channel on here actually, Stargate SG1, but I deleted it. It was just one I made just for fun. And I was able to get the A in Stargate to look exactly like it does in the show, with the little circle on top. But yeah, that's interesting. And I don't know too much about it existing in real life through all the time, but it definitely makes sense. And I've heard a lot different things about like time travel, but what do they say the portal is leading to? Is it other dimensions or just really far away in space or what?
To other planets. And mind you, when it says other planets, if there's a codec there's a coded message in front of the CIA headquarters, and that encoded message was there's a power source to that encoded message, and it tells you where the power source is. But the only guy that knows how to break that encoded message passed away in 95 or 93, and the new CIA CEO wanted to know what the message said and where the power source was. And mind you, this is the second time I stumbled across an article where it says power source. Now, in the Book of Enoch, it said power source in Antarctica. In the edge of Antarctica, you'll find the power source. Pretty much what it said in another article, but in today's society, in today's modern time, it said that. So the guy that passed away, that knew how to decode this message. I forgot what you call it, but it is a art with a lot of letters. Anyway, I'll have to try and bring it up again. And anyway, it said something about the power source and how it works. Now, in Strangers in the Pentagon, a alien. So his name was Val Valiant for Thor. Now he was mentioning that his brain capacity was 1200, and ours was about, I think, 100 or 90. I think it was 100 or 110 or 130, our brain capacity. And not only that, did he state that we don't give our creator enough credit. There was a bit of clues as well into that book. I highlighted. I have to look through my bookshelf to find that book again. But I will show you all the information regarding to this power source, which was interesting because I always stumble upon this thing that kept saying power source, and it just ends there.
Yeah, it's interesting talking about a power source before they even had power. Yeah, it's interesting for sure. So that Stargate's just leading to other planets, just like in the show. It's crazy, man. Yeah, it could be like a gift that maybe a really advanced extraterrestrial race would have given people, or maybe people just figured out how to build it themselves. Because they do say that people had reached pretty advanced levels, maybe more advanced than we are, even way back in the day, Yeah, I remember in one of the podcasts that we did, you were in it with Pseudo talking about Valiant Thor, and I've always been interested in that story, Stranger in the Pentagon, that whole story with Valiant Thor and the guy that tells it, I forget his name. But, he kind of threw me off because he always had like a strong Christian method, or a message, like you need to accept Jesus Christ as your personal savior. I just couldn't see an advanced extraterrestrial having that be their belief system. Maybe that's what the government said he needs to say in order for people to not just like think that it's blasphemy or something. But I don't know, because I just can't see an alien saying that he's Christian.
Yeah, the truth. You're right. You're actually on the money on that. That's what I found weird as well. When Valvedian Thor saying in the book, he stated that he comes from the planet as we know today, Venus. So I don't know. I can't remember what they called the planet. But his whole attitude in that story was he was always calm. When he glazed into people's eyes, he would make them calm as well, which you stated. He was always calm and happy. He said there was 74, 76 of them working in this world as they spoke in this book. And yeah, you're right. He was a bit calm and saying, He never mentioned the word Jesus, but he mentioned the way in one of his what he said was we never gave our Creator enough credit for the universe. We only gave him enough credit for one Earth, which was interesting because
Maybe in that particular documentary you're referencing or whatever that was, but no, I've seen information on him where he's talking like in detail about very Christian, typical Christian belief systems, and that's what threw me off. I've always liked the story. I don't know if it was in Stranger of the Pentagon or not. I can't reference it, so I guess you can't hold me to it, but I could have sworn I heard him talking about that, and that's what always threw me off with him. Well, didn't he say his spaceship was parked? I think it was like on Lake Mead in Nevada. And I think he even took some officials there, quite a few. Well, obviously that's like a government base, so there's going to be officials there. But even people that were reporting on it, he had taken there and showed them the ship, I guess. The guy that tells his story says he went to the ship and even used the restroom on the ship, couldn't figure out how to use the restroom and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's been a while since I read that book. But I only can remember on certain subjects that I was touching on and interested in was pretty much not giving enough credit to the Creator. How their brain capacity was, or their IQ capacity was much higher than ours at 1200. Not only that, another thing that I highlighted in the book was when scientists test his suit, there was no zipper, no pockets, no little area, no cuts, nothing, and and you couldn't. There was nothing for like a strap to hang the suit, but the suit was indestructible. It was a bit more sci-fi in that book. There's a lot of sci-fi, a lot of bullshit, I reckon, in that book. But some things were interesting how they mentioned it. Tracing, I was listening, not only listening, reading that one book, but also other informations I come upon where they're saying where he comes from Venus, and he stated there was they would give technology for each not him in the book, but there was a article I read that one guy. Oh, this is another subject altogether. Forget it. I'm still half asleep. But anyway, I'll jump on that subject tomorrow. But yeah, that's a whole new subject altogether. Do you read sci-fi books often or not?
Yeah, I used to. I watch a lot of sci-fi movies. That's my favorite. Not too many books these days. If I'm gonna read a book, it'll be, I don't know. I read kind of the same stuff as Pseudo, I guess. But I used to. I used to read like a lot of sci-fi books when I was younger. I read The Tripods, and that a long time ago. I liked that book a lot. That was my first sci-fi book. That's what got me onto sci-fi, I think.
Yeah, nice. What got me onto sci-fi? I was reading a book where this race car driver drove his car into the wall. Mind you, he was getting broadcasted all over the world. And this was in '67. He drove his race car into the wall, disappeared, and no dust, no smoke, nothing. And they haven't seen that car. I forgot what it was called. It was called Race Car 61, I think. Where are you? I think that's what it was. The headline on that story was. That's what captured me. and it started from there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I know that one. I don't think I do. It's interesting. But yeah, I like anything that's about like space exploration, time travel, uh, like quantum physics, anything like that. Pretty much all sci-fi. I just don't like the whole horror side to it. Some sci-fi stuff can get pretty dark, and yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, guy Nikola Tesla. I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of him by now.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading a story about him. This was about 7 years ago when I read the story where he figured out how to create energy from natural energy from Earth with a device. And then when he did, a couple of weeks later, or a couple of months later, he mysteriously passed away in his sleep. I think it was a heart attack, or he hung himself, something like that.
Yeah, and the FBI seized all of his documents and everything, right? Or somebody did. Somebody came in and took all his information away right away. Yeah, I think he definitely figured out a lot of different things. And some of it, they probably, well, all of it they're still using today, I guess. But yeah, it's crazy, man. He's definitely an interesting person to study, and there's lots of conspiracies behind Tesla for sure.
Yeah, I honestly reckon that he did find a breakthrough of free electricity for everyone, and the whole conspiracy where the government killed him off. I reckon that's true because of what he knew.
I believe it, but it seems like they'd want to utilize somebody like that rather than just kill them off. They'd want to work in cahoots with him and just utilize the technology and inventions that he's coming up with, and they did do that. But maybe he didn't want to go along with their agenda, and so they have to step in. But there's people now that are working with free energy devices like John Searle, the Searle effect generator, and there's a Russian-made one, a few different ones that are just clearly generating tons of free energy and even create their own gravitational field. I don't know that I've ever seen those get truly debunked. I've talked to Virus and Pseudo and a million people about this, but I don't know. I mean, John Searle's still alive. He's still out there. He's still building it. He's even built craft that levitate using these, that power themselves and create their own gravitational fields, but doesn't get funding because I guess that'd go against big oil companies and pretty much every major corporation.
Because some of it, the stories that this man that flew into Earth, the whole Earth, he actually flew into Antarctica. That's where he said that he found where he went to the hollow Earth. He flew in there and flew out without any injuries, no scratch, nothing. Everything was fine. But when he did go in there, he said that he states in his stories that he's seen different tribes, a whole new world, mountains that were bigger than ours. Different types of animals. He, all this in his book. But then, when writing this, obviously you know that the government's going to put him out as to be a crazy person, and that's what they did. Yeah, true. Do you know anything about Gary Corney?
Gary Corney? I don't think so.
So it was the there's a book about him, that the man that flew into Earth. It's actually a pretty good book, man.
I'm really bad with names. Something like that seems like I would know about it. I study the Hollow Earth theory. I guess that's where me and Pseudo differ a little. I know he's the flat Earth expert, but I've always studied the Hollow Earth. But I entertain all different theories because that's all they are, is just a bunch of theories. But yeah, I'm not sure. Well, that just seems to be confirming what everybody else says that's gone there and done that. Like Admiral Byrd, I'm sure you've heard of that. He describes like mountains and cities and mammoths and mammals and all sorts of shit. And an inner sun. And then, I know, they make everyone out to be crazy. Have you heard of Billy Woodard? He His story's a trip, bro. He is interesting. But he says he worked at Area 51. They would bring him down like 40 levels deep, and then he'd meet up with the aliens down there. They'd take him over to Mount Shasta, all over the place. But eventually they took him into the inner Earth. That's where he was originally from as a child. That's why they let him in and did all this with him, because he actually came from there and lived on Earth and some. But I don't know if you've heard of Billy Woodard. It's a pretty interesting story, but they definitely make him out to be pretty crazy.
Oh no, I haven't heard of him actually. Oh yeah, I'll look into that. 'Cause, the way I found all my info was pretty much through lost texts in the Bible. So everything covers you know. So everything that you want to find out in history would be written in plain writing in the Bible. Like say, before man, before anything that God created, the world was full of darkness. Watches floating on the river, cities, dead cities, broken bridges. Then, mind you, just what I just said was cities. So if before any human and there was cities, then who built the cities and the broken bridges? This is all mentioned in the Bible. It's weird but true. And then it doesn't state, much about it. That information just completely, the rest of the text of that just ends there, and it moves on to a whole new creation.
Yeah, I remember even on TV they played the banned texts of the Bible. I was surprised they even played that on TV, but if you really look into all those different texts, man, there's a lot of good information in there. The Bible I'm not a huge fan of. It just doesn't help me much, and it's hard to understand. Who knows what the correct interpretation is? I know I don't agree with most people's. But yeah, the banned books from the Bible, those were pretty interesting to listen to.
No, it's not. It's not that I believe anything in the Bible. I just like reading pretty much lost context, and then I'll take that context out and then try and search into it. And searching into there's a lot of there's a million different contexts in this one religious book, and that's what made me question the whole pretty much book, because there's a lot of things that unanswered, a lot of missing links to a lot of things as well.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting in one of the talks you had with Pseudo, how you referred to like the different names of the Bible, and all those different Bible codes, they are interesting if you can break it down and find meaning behind them, but a lot of that stuff I didn't know about. So yeah, there's good information there if you could figure out what it is,
Yeah, true. And like I was saying, everything is there. When you look up the information because we got computer now, we got internet, we can look up all these missing texts from the Bible, and then a different information will come up on the internet. But then it was there, so proving to not only me, but to everyone that everything that if you look into the Bible properly and read it properly and then break it down and find missing links to each and every chapter, it will show you the history of that. And WikiLeaks even comes up with a lot of them, surprisingly but true.
Yeah, I mean, it's all out there, man. You can find it, and especially online with the internet now, pretty much anything is accessible.
That's what kind of surprised me, finding out that a human that walked in Genesis 6. It says, I did actually talk with Pseudo about this. In Genesis 6, it says a man that walked, God took Enoch, and Enoch was no more. And then that's the only passage, and that was in there. And then it carries on to another story. But then it's like it went too fast. It went by too fast. You're like, wait a minute, and then it's gone by the time you trying to get started on that story, you look up Enoch, and then Enoch tells you everything that you want to know about history, about, you know, these watchers. It tells you everything about the devil, and it tells you who Lucifer was and why he was there. Who he was pretty interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I don't know if do you only read books on like history and those type of books, or do you read any of the books on like what Pseudo's talking about with like law of attraction, self-help, those types, like Napoleon Hill and different authors that talk about that, Rhonda Byrne and those?
No, I don't read those books. I only take context out of the Bible and then try and research into them. Mind you, I've been taking out context from the Bible since I was 15 and gathering all these information on, you know, missing texts. Sometimes I only come up to, you know, blocked walls, and then I try and find a way around it by going to thousands of different informations, only to try and find I come back into another circle where I already started something else, and that joins in with another one.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I was just asking. I was curious if you read the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Just it's kind of like almost like a channeling piece, but no, he's not a channeler. He's just like having a conversation with the devil. There's one book by Neil Donald Walsh called Conversations with God, where he's having a dialogue with God, channeling God, I guess. But this is kind of the other side where Napoleon Hill's talking to the devil and having a dialogue with him. But it's pretty interesting to listen to. I don't believe in the devil myself. Well, at least not the way that it's described, or he's described, whatever it or he is. But I did like that book by Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. And I have all 3 volumes of Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God. That one was pretty good too. Definitely controversial. Christians and religious people don't like it.
Yeah, that's probably true. I haven't heard of the book. I've never read it before. I actually mentioned this to Pseudo, I think, last week or the week before. Probably last week. And I was asking him what is his imagination of what a devil would look like, and you know, most people would interpret the devil in hell would be fire. You know, the devil would be a monster with horns, which is not true. You know, it's just something that someone made up along the lines of it just carried on to history. From history on, it just carries on and carries on. And then, you know, it's like playing Chinese whispers. You tell a person something and then the story continues, but people just add in their own dialogue to it. And then it gets even worse and worse and worse. And I think that's what happened.
Yeah, it's strayed far from the truth over time more and more, I guess. Like, yeah, I even made one documentary that's on YouTube, just kind of messing around, but just saying that Earth is the hell that's being described. I'm not sure that we're stuck here eternally, but that it doesn't get any worse than this, that basically the hell is here on Earth. But yeah, I could never describe a devil, because I don't think that there would be a devil that has one form like that, just the same as God. I can't describe what God would look like. I don't think he has just one form, some Santa Claus looking type. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you could be completely right on that one. I reckon we're in hell, but we're getting tested by both, you know, God and the devil. But I don't know what's another lingo to call him. I don't know what's another lingo to call the devil. Well, mind you, the devil is mentioned in the Bible. When you break down who the devil is, and where did he come from, and it states not in the Bible, but in the book of Enoch that, you know, Lucifer, or some may call Satan, was God's favorite angel. But then Lucifer questioned God and saying to God, you know, why don't we just give people free will? I think, and then God got angry with the point being, you know, why should he give people free will when they got everything they need? They don't have to feel hungry. They don't have to, you know, choose between what's right and wrong when everything was there. But anyway, the whole thing was a challenge to see who would win, people's souls or people's minds into doing right or wrong. But each book comes along with who Lucifer was and who the devil was. But yeah, it does state that he was one of God's favorite creations.
Yeah, I know. I heard you talk about that in the discussion with Suda. But it's hard to believe in a God that could get upset and angry with people. And it's hard to believe in a God who has a favorite. I like Lucifer, but because he's better than the other ones I made. Like, I kind of fucked up on these other ones that I made. They're just kind of retarded, It's just a stupid God. I mean, fuck this guy, Sign me up on Lucifer's team. I said that to Pseudo before. And that's really what God is like. It's all a joke. Because that's a joke of a God, in my eyes.
Yeah, I understand where you come from. Yeah, it's somewhat controversial yet interesting at the same time, because a lot of people would say that. I understand sometimes, I'm actually confused about where the Muslims got this from. But anyway, there was a book I read. I don't even know where I'm trying to find that book so I can take photos of each and every single page in that book. But the guy who wrote this book was a genius. Obviously a genius. And he was saying that if you read the Bible properly, it says in the Bible, it will say that when he created this being, he found a fault in this being. And well, anyway, I can talk about that another day. It's going to take ages before I get down to it. Probably take a good hour just trying to explain the whole thing. But touching subjects with that code that I was talking to you about, it was called Cryptos. That's what it was called. I'll remember now. So that Cryptos is a scripture that is done by American artist Jim Sanborn, located in the Central Intelligence Agency in Langley, Virginia. I don't know if you heard of it.
I don't think so.
So that Cryptos scripture was done by American artist Jim Sanborn. So located, like I said, it was located in Central Intelligence Agency in Langley, Virginia. And it was designed on November 3rd, 1990, if I could remember. But there was a encrypted message in there that the CIA tried to find. And the guy that died with the encrypted message said that it was something powerful. It had something, it was the power source to something. And that's what I said before. Wasn't the only time where I heard about this power source. It's probably the second time I've ever heard about a power source.
Yeah, it's trippy. I don't know many of those texts that you're referring to are exactly what they said, but it's interesting to hear that they're mentioning power sources. But yeah, I mean, going back through all the time they mention it, and even you can see the light bulbs on the temples or the pyramids, on the walls that the ancients had. So I don't know. I mean, I guess they've had power all through time, and people have gone through cycles where they got really advanced and left or were wiped out or something, I guess. It's interesting. It's weird how we don't know our own history and that you have to kind of find all these secret little codes and texts. But I guess if you look back all through time, they've been burning libraries and hiding information and fighting against each other, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It's funny. What are your thoughts on the flat Earth theory and the hollow Earth theory? What are your thoughts on both?
Yeah, I mean, it just made me think, like, I don't know, if some of the truth isn't really hidden, people just haven't really put two and two together. But, there doesn't have to be that big of a conspiracy if people aren't thinking. They're not going to figure it out anyways. Flat Earth, hollow Earth. Flat Earth is out there, man. That's a fairly new concept to me. I know it's one that people considered a long time ago, but it's really far-fetched. I agree with Pseudo about just everything's dimensional. I don't know. You kind of create your own reality type situation, but as far as I've always bought into the Hollow Earth theory, man. I believed that when I was researching that. So, and I don't know. I guess the two could coexist. A flat Hollow Earth is possible, but I don't know. They're all just theories right now. You never know. Right now, it's just a fascinating story to listen to.
You said with the flat Hollow Earth thing, I somewhat believe it might be a flat Hollow Earth, if that makes sense. Because if you look back on so many, even it's in history, you look way back to Incas, they already knew that the flat Earth theory existed. If they knew it, the Egyptians knew it, and the Vikings knew it, and even the ancient Greeks knew it. Then why the hell are we fighting about if it is or isn't? I don't understand that. And then it's on the UN crest.
I mean, it just goes back to NASA lying, like you were talking about. They have, by not telling people the truth, I mean, you're going to have them at odds with each other. We have to argue amongst ourselves rather than just being given the evidence we need. It's ridiculous. These agencies that we bank on for information just commit treason against the people, man. It's really fucked up.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. I feel like I'm getting close to something, but every time I do, like I mentioned this, I think, last week as well. I feel like I'm getting close to something, but every time I do, I'll get blocked by something else. Well, anyway, I know I'm getting close to it, but once I do, I'm gonna just fuck. Who can I tell? I'm just gonna put it out there for the people that want to listen. They can listen. I don't mind. If the ones that don't, that's fine.
Yeah, and it's like a tree where you find out, you get to the end of one branch and it branches out to a bunch of others, and that tree just keeps growing and growing and growing. I don't know how big it gets or if it ever ends, but yeah, it's interesting, man.
Yes, that's true. Can you do me a favor? Do you remember the cartoon Looney Tunes? Can you spell it out for me?
That's what I'm here for, brother. Looney Tunes, is this a real question? Nah, Looney, I believe they spell Looney. Tunes is like iTunes, Tunes.
No, that's incorrect. See, that's what I found funny as well. They changed the wording for Looney Tunes to Looney Tunes. And Tunes before was Toon.
Yeah, I think he's getting at the Mandela effect. And I seem to have a memory where it was tunes, as in cartoons.
Oh, I missed what he was saying. So this is the correct spelling in this new alternate dimension we've entered into, the Looney iTunes.
Yeah, that's the one. That's what I was getting at. It's weird. There's a lot of things on packages that I'm seeing as well. Even in, if you go to your local supermarket, you'll see some packaging changed on some, items or product.
Yeah, now that I was made aware of that little theory, I actually didn't know about that too long ago. I think Pseudo might have told me about it, or Pseudo or Mastermind, I believe. But yeah, it's trippy. I started to keep an eye out and noticed a few things.
Yeah, because I was asking a few mates of mine, and I asked them, when did Mandela die? And they said 89. I was surprisingly no. Can you, do you remember when Mandela died?
I'm not good with Mandela effect because my memory is just shot. So they're always like, oh, were the lights green or red or blue? Man, they could have been purple for all I know. I have no clue.
Second time around in 2010.
It was 2010, Pseudo, did you say? It was 2013. Weird, but true.
Well, that is super weird, because I heard that Susan Broom, who coined the phrase the Mandela effect. Yeah, it kind of fits in, I guess, if she coined the phrase in 2010 because of people reporting that he had died, and then 3 years later he died.
co-workers that are in their 40s and mid-40s. They said that he died in 89. I was like, interesting. And then someone said, like you said just today, um, he died in 2010. I was like, what the hell's going on with years? And then they're like, well, what's wrong? And I was like, he died in 2013. A lot of them looked it up and they're like, oh shit, you're right. I mean, I didn't know what the hell's going on with him.
So maybe there's been 3 instances of it. The reason, I don't know if you know this, Hex, the reason it's called the Mandela effect is because of, like what you were saying, there are so many people who remember him dying. But he's not the only person that people remember having died. For instance, one of them was Billy Idol. But there was a woman, an actress, a lady called Starfire Tor, she was known as. And she has a website, starfiretor.com. And she was doing research into this phenomena well before 2010. You can even trace that back on her website if you look at the dates of posting. And she has a Yahoo group, so she did have a Yahoo group called Interdimensional. And she'd been researching what she was, before it was called the Mandela effect, she was calling it 2 things. One of them was reality shift manifestation, which was relating to multiple timelines and skipping between the timelines. And the other aspect of it, which relates to the actual people dying thing, she was referring to as TSLD, which stands for Time Shift Living Dead. And I used to belong to our groups, and this was before 2010. And it's very, very interesting stuff. You might want to take a look at that website, starfiretor.com.
Yeah, nice. Because there was a book published on him. Actually, I'm going to get that book off Jason Reggie, one of old man. That's the one I was actually telling you about when he said that he died in 89. But then he has a book. I can't remember the author's name. Anyway, the author wrote the book on October the 1st, 1991, about Mandela's death on the 23rd. And I was like, what are you talking about? Anyway, he's going to give me that book on Monday, and I'll take a photo of it and I'll send it through.
That'd be fascinating. There was a guy on this application, Mystical Things was his username. And, excuse me, he actually still has a C3PO from when he was small, showing that this particular toy is all gold, or at least was all gold. Most of the gold is rubbed off, but you can see clearly where it was gold on both of the legs. But in the modern movies, the C3PO has got kind of like silver from below one of the shins, so half of the leg is silver, and that was his little portion of evidence relating to how he knew C3PO looked, and a lot of other people identified with C3PO as being totally gold. But if you go look in the movies now, he has a silver portion on his leg.
Take a look at this map. Mind you, this map is still, it's in a museum, the actual map like this, but it's got more detail to it than what it has on this map. But anyway, it's in a museum in a small island called Tonga. But anyway, yeah, I'll show you the map, what it looks like, and then when I do go overseas, probably the end of this year, I'll try and take a full map, a photo of the actual map, and what it looks like over there, and in detail.
Wow, I cannot find this article on Wikipedia that I had back in the day. Now it's all different, man. It was an article about Barack Obama, how he changed the policies and the laws, and before a certain point it was illegal to be gay in the USA. Now I can't find anything on Wikipedia that says that. It's tripping me out. I'm wasting my time.
What the hell? I'm pretty sure he said that same-sex marriage was legal.
Yeah, but there was something on Wikipedia that said it was actually illegal to be gay before 2003, I think was the date, or somewhere around that time, and it didn't make any sense to me. But now I can't find that anymore. All I see now is just information about marriage. I could have been confused, but I don't see anything referencing 2003, so it's just confusing.
Shit. That's crazy.
If you think about Starfire Tor's theories about multiple timelines and skipping timelines, if you consider that as being a possibility, then the internet could be different today than it was yesterday.
Sure does make it hard on us truth seekers, all the facts just constantly changing. The second you get some evidence, the whole universe shifts and no longer supports your theory. It's wonderful. I hope that one's not true.
That's crazy. Oh yes, Pseudo and Illuminati. Take a look at that map that I put up on the history. It was really hard for me to find this map anywhere. I know that the island that I went to, where my parents are from, they got the original map there of what the world looks like. I'll take a photo next time when I'm there, and I'll send it through.
I've never seen a map like that before. But what I said about the internet, of course, things could be removed by Google or whoever.
Yeah, the elite don't need to shift the whole universe. They just change their Wikipedia page. A map of Mu, I'm sure that is probably hard to come across. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen one like that either.
Yeah, that's what I found interesting too. I only ever come across that map in the museum in the islands in Tonga. And I was saying that before. And this map was detailed, very detailed, and it's only on a small island where this museum is. But I couldn't believe that map they had there was pretty amazing. I wanted to steal it, to be honest. They had guards there watching me, so I wasn't going to take shit.
So we've got Mu in the middle there and Atlantis off to the right-hand side.
On the map, from when I remember it by detail, on the map, the capital of that whole Mu continent was Tonga Tapu. It was right next to it was the city of Hiva. Now Hiva was the capital of that island, and I don't know what's to go there, but Hiva is still alive and well, and you can go to that island and visit it. That's where the map is. That's where I've seen it, inside that museum is where it is, and I honestly wanted to steal it, but because they had armed guards there, I wasn't going to take shit, like I said. Interesting, but true, man. Oh yeah, Pseudo. I said there's that Hiva, that island. Hiva was the capital. Sorry, it wasn't the capital. So Tonga Tapu was the capital of Mu, and Hiva was I'm guessing it must have been like a parliament place, or where all these people went to. Each time I spoke to each different village people that lived in different villages there, they kept telling me the same story, how the island used to be pure gold and pyramids were there, but then it was destroyed. I don't know how much of that I wanted to believe was true. Like I said, I think I mentioned this last week, but that map is there in the museum, and it's in fine detail about where everything was. It was surprising. I should have taken a phone. Actually, I didn't have a phone at the time. I had one of those brick phones, those black and white phones. I had one of those. So much so I wanted to steal that map.
Yeah, maybe if you can do some more research on that. You probably know some stuff already, but that would make a great mini podcast or something if you could just explain the whole background of Mu and the beliefs, of the people who point towards that, I mean, I know nothing about it. This is the first time I've ever heard of Mu, but I'd be fascinated to listen to what you could tell us about it.
Definitely. Probably my time tomorrow afternoon. Your morning, if something like that. I'll have a sit down with you. We'll go over it. I know pretty much a lot. I know a lot about it just from asking different villagers. I know there was an old man that was in one of the villages. He was 102 years old, and the story that he told me was probably by far the best story I've heard. It all made sense with every other villager's story, and then he combined it. He didn't combine it, but he said, what he remembered, what his great grandfather told him about what the islands and everything was back then. It was surprising, but yeah, it will probably be like an hour and a half segment, if anything.
And given that our time zones are different, but obviously it would be better if we could all be present. I mean, and for you now, what is it, about 6 in the morning where you are?
Yeah, that's right, 6 in the morning right now. Being your time, what time is it there now?
9 p.m. in the UK.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, it sounds good. Probably about, say, 9:30 my time. Somewhere, I don't know what time it will be for you. If that's too early, I can stay up till 10, 11 o'clock and then wait for you, and then we'll have a conversation then, and I could explain everything that pretty much I actually understand from the lost history of what you guys would call Mu now.
Well, that would probably fit in better with the Illuminati. I'd be well after midnight there, and I may be tired at that point, but yeah, Illuminati would be bright as a button, no doubt.
So, but yeah, so whenever. I'm available during the day, as long as it's not too early or too late. Actually, too early is okay. I'm usually up pretty early.
Yes, that's sweet. Sounds good.
All right, Hex, thanks for the conversation. We appreciate the information you gave us. Rest easy. So I guess that's a wrap then. That was a very interesting conversation.
And thank you for listening to All Things Tech. That concludes our Conscious Chat broadcast. To hear more shows just like it, visit us at www.consciouschat.com and stream all the latest episodes for free. You can find us on YouTube and SoundCloud as well by simply searching Conscious Chat. Again, thank you for listening to All Things Tech.